What does Iman Billah mean? Does it mean that you have to say, that you have to declare that there is a creator, a religious creator called Allah, and that you believe in him? Does Iman bil Ghaib mean that you now trust in fate, that whatever happens, happens for a reason, and that you have no choice but to accept and make your peace with it? Is that what the Iman of the Quran is? Is that what Iman Billah mean in the Quran? Is that what Iman bil Malaika wa Rusulihi wa Kutubihi wa all those things? Is that what it really means or not? Salamun alaikum. I'm Moses, and with an open mind, as we have been doing throughout this series, let's explore what does the Quran say when it uses terms like Iman Billah or Iman bil Ghaib and other terms like this. Now, all of us who have been brought up in the traditional Islam, we seem to think we know what Iman is, and specifically when we're talking about Iman in Allah. But there are questions, and these questions are what we've been exploring from the very first video, to be honest. I'm going to ask you specific questions. When I say Iman Billah or Iman in Allah, as is often translated, are you really saying that you believe that Allah exists? Does it mean that you're trusting in Allah? Does it mean that you're satisfied with whatever happens in your life, as I said in the very beginning, in this fate? And also, we're going to have to go back to this question. Does Iman Billah, Iman in Allah, as we often understand this, does that now finally only refer to a specific group of people who traditionally are known as Muslims, who have these rites and these customs and the special food that they eat and the special things that they do at special times of the year, etc., etc.? Is that finally what we've gotten to, despite what we talked about in the first two videos, as in what is Islam of the Quran and what is Iman of the Quran? Are we finally surrendering and saying, well, we tried, but honestly, whenever we come to this topic, Iman in Allah or Iman Billah, we have no choice but to say, you know, the traditionals were always correct. It does specifically point to the religious creator of the traditional religion called Islam, and it is really specific to something that the Muslims believe in. It's not a universal concept, Moses. In other words, what they're saying is, or what they could say, is that despite what we discussed so far in the first two videos, in which we found clearly that Iman in the Quran means securing and removing fear, that despite this meaning, when you add the harf jar bi, the preposition bi, to the kalima, to the word Iman, the meaning now suddenly significantly changes. So from the overall, the real meaning of that of securing or removing fear, because you've now added Billah or Bil Malaika or Bil Kutub, or you've added Bi Al Yawm Al Akhir, now suddenly there is no going away from the fact that Iman of the Quran, Iman of the Islam, is now significantly tied with a religious understanding of what Islam is, what Iman is, what Allah is, etc., etc. And by the way, as I said before, this phenomenon doesn't really apply on just Allah, but also to the other terms that I've been mentioning from the very beginning. Iman bil Malaika, bil Kutub, etc., etc. How do we really understand all of this? I would like to say this one more time, because I really understand where you're coming from if you have questions once you've gone through this video. Because I was where you are. And as I said, it took me personally 5 years of honest, diligent study of the Quran before I really understood what Iman of the Quran is. And in particular, I'm talking about whenever this term comes with the harf jar, the preposition be. Even though I had inklings, I had an overall understanding, the overall mafhum was clear to me that Iman is and does signify peace or security. And that is what we find in traditional understandings as well to a certain degree. But whenever this one particular term came before or attached to the word Iman, suddenly the meanings were completely changed. So from a point of granting security, which is all Iman is about, or amana, that fi'al, that verb is supposed to mean when it's standing by itself, suddenly the moment we add this one preposition, the meaning changes to now we're believing in something. We're believing, we are trusting that a certain thing exists, even though we haven't seen it, etc., etc. So the contention always has been, and this is a bit that I've always grappled with, how does a meaning change so significantly by the addition of this be? This is the bit that I have really struggled with up until now. Now again, I've said before, if you are one of those who just know for a fact that I'm wrong, and that you absolutely understand what Iman Billah and all those other terms mean, I'm going to show you a couple of ayat to really not challenge you, because that's not my style. I'm not here to debate or to debunk or to slaughter you. You know, I'm just using those metaphorical terms, obviously. I'm not here to score points. I'm here to share what the Quran says and how I've understood it in its own terms. If you really think you understand what Iman Billah means, let's have a look at these two ayat. I say the traditional understanding really doesn't work. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu aminu billahi wa rasulihi wal kitabi alladhi nazzala ala rasulihi. And the ayah goes up until the end. The translation, you who believe, and this is not my translation by the way, this is the traditional one that I've picked to show. You who believe, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So by definition, this group has believed. Believe in God and His Messenger. Aminu billahi wa rasulihi. Question, and there's a very obvious question. If these people by definition have believed, why are they being asked to believe once more? What has happened? What has gone wrong with our understandings? Why don't we stop and ponder and ask, well, what we just read doesn't seem to make sense. You can't ask a circle to become a circle. You can't ask the captain of the Pakistani cricket team to start learning cricket so he can join the cricket team. That does not make sense. Yet those who have believed are being asked to believe. I have never understood this ayah before. As I've said before, not until now. And as I would say, and as I was saying, if you're being honest, I think you would agree that the traditional understandings of this ayah and some of the other ayat, they just don't hold. They don't make sense. Here's another one. آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه. The messenger believes or believed in what has been sent down to him from his Lord. The messenger, and this is an ayah by the way we talked about in the last video as well. The messenger who is speaking directly / indirectly with Allah, the creator, the religious creator as we are meant to believe, and he's receiving this divine scripture, and yet we have to be told in the voice of the creator that this messenger, he does believe in what has been sent to him. Why are we being told this? If the messenger became a messenger and he got through all of these experiences, yet we need to be told that this messenger has believed. Why is this even being mentioned to us? It just sounds completely superfluous. If I am talking to a messenger of Allah and the messenger says, I've got the message from the divine, from the As-Salam, the Ar-Rahman, Allah, Rabbul Alameen, and here are his words, and his words, the words that I hear from this messenger is that Allah says, this creator says, this messenger has believed in what has been sent down to him through his Lord. I'm going to ask, what value does that sentence add for me? That just sounds superfluous, as if you're stuffing in words for the sake of making up words. So I would say this translation that we just read, it asks more questions than what it answers, and it, to be very honest, adds no value if we understand this the way we understand it normally. Before we go any further, as I said before, this is the third video of the series. I'm going to go quickly in this video because I assume that a lot of the very basic things we've already covered, and those who have seen those previous two videos would be really rather bored, and I'd be bored perhaps as well if I just went through the same stuff over and over again. So if you're really interested in finding out how we understood Islam and Iman in the Quran through very basic, simple standards of the Arabic language, I encourage you to go and watch those first two videos of the series. So coming back to our topic, the one secret for understanding Iman Billah and the other such terms is very simple. It is quite obvious in a way, but it's something that eludes us and has eluded us for a very long time. What is the secret? All of that comes down to one word, to one harf, al-ba. It comes down to al-ba. That is what we're talking about. If you didn't know, there are many types of al-ba in Arabic. Many types of them, and the many ways that they're understood and the way they're utilized. So this is a very rich preposition used in Arabic. And when you add this to a verb, the meanings can change quite a bit. So you need to really understand, what are you talking about? What are you dealing with? And how does the verb go with the kind of preposition that you're looking at? So I've got a few examples here just to give you an idea, a flavor of what that really looks like. And again, it's not going to be a grammatical lesson. For those who are interested, you've got more than enough here to take this and go into your own research for your own peace of mind. So in this one here, we've got a quotation that there are 14 different meanings for ba. I've got a few examples in here. We've got ba al-ilsaq, we've got ba al-isti'ana, we've got ba al-qasam. So when you're taking an oath, we've got ba al-badal, we've got ba al-musahaba. So whenever we say ma'a or with something or somebody, we've got ba that comes in the meaning of an, we've got in the meaning of ala, or ba al-tawqid. So in English, many types of ba in Arabic, and a lot of those different types are obviously used in the Quran as well. So with different verbs, when you see the preposition, the harf jar ba, you have to understand how that's being used. So ba with the fi'al, with the verb, can be understood to be pointing to adhesion or seeking assistance or showing causality or transitivity, or it's talking about an oath or talking about substitutions. Maybe it's coming in the sense of compensation. It's talking about from, it's talking about some, or it's just coming in for emphasis. So a lot of these different meanings are added to a verb depending upon which ba you understand along with the verb. This is significant. This is significant. And this is not too unlike what we find in English as well, by the way. So if I say come to, now come to is a very different understanding to come in or come on or come at. So while it might sound strange in the very beginning, as I said, by looking at some of those examples in English, it's not really a very foreign, complex concept for us to understand. So if you come back to our main topic, I'm going to ask you a question, and I think the answer is quite obvious. Well, the answer is right there. So maybe if you have not yet looked at it, don't take a peek. First, let me say out loud what the question is. Whenever you read the translations of the Quran and you found ba added to amana, so this person did amana bi, amana billah, or amana bi rusulihi, or bi kutubihi. What is the ba that you find in those translations? That ba is almost always in. So the ba that we almost always find in those translations is in. It might sound like a minor enough thing. You might say, I don't know if Moses got enough here to talk about. Well, it sounds minor enough, but it is huge. It is enough to twist the meaning of amanu. So from an act that you did, that of securing somebody, taking their fear away, you have now, by changing the understanding of the one preposition, you have now gotten us talking about uttering words, giving testimonies, and basically talking about rituals and in a fatalistic attitude. That is what we've come down to. Basically, what we've done is we have birthed a new religion where, because of the way we translated amana bi, as in amana billahi, obviously, we all understand this too. You have to believe in Allah. You have to trust in Allah. You have to say, you have these statements of faith that you have to profess and declare with all certainty, even though you can't have that. Yes, there is a religious creator called Allah with all of these attributes. And yes, there was this person called Muhammad who lived all of those 14 centuries ago in that area, and I believe in it. All of those are classic markers of a traditional religion, of organized faith. And that is what you're doing by twisting the one preposition. So you got a religious creator, you got a prophet, a religious prophet. You've now got unseen angels who Allah talks with. These angels fly and they've got wings and they can do miracles, and they're carrying the throne of Allah, the physical throne of a very physical Allah. And again, as I said before, you're now being asked to perform rituals. You don't have to eat food at certain times of the year. You can't even drink whilst you're fasting. 5 times a day, you're going up and down. You're going up and down in this specific uniform manner. You are hitting stone pillars with stones in a house of stone, and you're expecting rewards, and so on. And this does not end. This does not end. All of that due to a teeny tiny humble preposition, the ba. Just that one little tiny thing. Once it was misused, ended up causing us a great deal of grief. So what is amanu bi? How do we understand this in the Quran? I'm going to cut right to the chase. Whenever we find amana bi in the Quran, it's talking about the act of securing, removing fear through relying on a source. Ba al-isti'ana. And as I said, we're going to look in some of the ayat today to see if that meaning holds. And as I said before, this could be a very long series. We're going to keep talking about more and more of the ayat to confirm that what we have talked about here does actually conform to all of those ayat and the context that those ayat come in. We're going to start applying that right now. The very first time you open the Quran, on the very second page in Surah Al-Baqarah, we find in the very third ayah, we're not going far, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. These who provide security even without oversight. الَّذِينَ, these, يُؤْمِنُونَ, these who provide security, who take away adversity, who take away fear, who take away problems. Bil-ghayb, without oversight, in an environment where your traditional sources of giving peace, security are absent, yet these are the ones who continue to secure others. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, and they are the ones who restore, strengthen the two-way connections. Again, pointer to those who have not yet seen the Salah series. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ, and give from what we have provided them. Let's look at another ayah, and once more, we're not going very far. It's the very second ayah. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and these who grant security through that what was revealed to you. بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ, through that was revealed to you, and through what was revealed before you. وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ, and who have certainty regarding the outcome. Let's look at one more ayah. آمَنَ الرَّسُولُ. So this is the ayah we just talked about in the very beginning of the video. آمَنَ الرَّسُولُ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ رَبِّهِ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ كُلٌّ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَمَلَائِكَتِهِ وَكُتُبِهِ وَرُسُلِهِ. The messenger granted security through what has been revealed to him from his Lord. So آمَنَ الرَّسُولُ, the Rasul, when he received the Risala, the message, that which is the Quran in front of us, Ar-Rasul used this Risala to secure those around him using this Risala. Bima unzila ilayhi min rabbih. What was given to him from his Lord became the very source of this Rasul to go and secure others. And the mu'mineen, they did the same thing. Guess what? They, once they believed in the Risala, they used these sources to go and spread that. So they spread, they secured, they took away harm, they took away adversity using Allah. When I say Allah, each of them does the act of Eeman, that is spreading peace, through Allah. And when I talk about Allah here, I'm talking about His laws, His qawaneen, wa malaikatihi, and His malaika, wa kutubihi, His scriptures, His rules, wa rusulihi, and His messengers. So the Rasul gets the message, and that message is through which he goes and does this particular act. These are acts we're talking about. And the Rasul and his instrument of choice is what the Quran is referring to. And the mu'mineen, they did the same thing. And because of the message, they relied on all of these sources that are sanctioned by this very message. By the way, a quick word. Why do I say Allah equals to the laws, qawaneen, His basic framework that we find in this universe, in this kaun? For those who haven't seen the dua video, I would encourage you to go and watch that to understand why I've translated Allah in here, like so. Now let's look at two very interesting ayat. In this ayat, in these two ayat, Allah says that it is possible for humans to spread peace, to secure others, to take away harm, using incorrect means, using the wrong ways. The wrong ways. I'll give you an example because I come from Pakistan. So all those who have had backgrounds similar to mine, you understand exactly what I mean when I say we are known, we know governments, we are used to governments. Spread peace. Yes, they do in the end come to an equilibrium where people relatively feel peaceful. There's no overt anarchy. There's semblance of peace overall, but the government The government does not respect its people. The people cannot say what they want to say. They can't speak their minds. They can't believe that the way they want to. They can't go and do what they want to do in their lives, even if that doesn't impact anybody else. You're just not free. That environment, they set up that environment, and through that wrong method, on those wrong methods, they spread peace. Yes, they spread peace. Yes, they secure people. They take away as much as they can through this system the wrongs that the people might have seen otherwise. But that does not mean that the means justify the ends. And that is what the Quran talks about. And I think this is absolutely amazing, that this phenomenon is something the Quran does not ignore. And this actually, for me, is another evidence for the divinity of the Quran here, that it talks about the very basic human nature. It knows that humans, even when they do good things, they might try and justify the means. And no, the Quran says, even if you get to the right path, but the way that you took was built on the sorrows of others, you are responsible. I won't read the whole ayah, but the part that I want to refer to and to really point out here is this one. أَفَبِالْبَاطِلِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. Then do they grant security, attempt to remove fear through falsehood? أَفَبِالْبَاطِلِ يُؤْمِنُونَ. So these are yu'minun, as we said in the second video of the series, they are securing, they are taking away fear and adversity, but they are doing this through they're doing this through al-batil, the wrong way, the way full of falsehoods. That is what they're doing. That is what they're doing. If you were one of these people who try to justify yourself, you could try, but as far as the Quran is concerned, it warns you not to do that. We've got another ayah in the same vein. You can be one of the losers if you continue to be on this path. قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ شَهِيدًا يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ وَكَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. Say, declare, Allah is sufficient as a witness between me and you. He knows whatever is in the heights and the earth below. These who grant security through falsehood, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِالْبَاطِلِ, and knowingly deny Allah, they are the losers. They are the losers. They might not think that, but they are the losers as far as the Quran is concerned. I would like to give a quick summary because I think this will be useful to those who might want to refer to something that's easy to understand as the series goes on. So, amana, whenever it comes in the Quran without any harf jar, and that is what we really talked about in the second video of the series, as in the video just before this, then it's talking about a general act of securing, removing fear. There's no specific source that's being mentioned, so we don't really know how you're going to do this. You could be using Allah, you could be using, the law of the country that you live in. It could be the policy of the company where you work in, probably. It could be for whatever reason. We don't know, because the act does not mention your source. But when we say amana bi al-ghayb, as we talked about, when the traditional sources of Iman are absent, they're not enforced, they're not working, say the police department is just not operational, the government has collapsed, there's a civil war, even then, in the ghiyab, in the absence of this system, even then, these people who are doing Iman, who are spreading Iman bil ghayb, they continue to ensure safety of others, even if they cannot rely on external supervision or deterrence. A simple example of this could be, if I put $1,000 in the kitchen in my office, and there's no security camera whatsoever at all, and if people go walk by and they know no one is watching it, they know for sure no one is watching them, yet they do not take those dollars. Well, then whatever they're doing is in the absence of a system that helps secure or helps spread security. And they did the right thing even without physical manifestation of that system. So those are the people that the Quran talks about. Those are the ones who are doing amanu bi al-ghayb. Amana bi Allah, or Iman billah. This is the highest form of Iman, because you are now using the one true source of peace, the Creator, As-Salam himself, the peace himself, all peace. That is your source, the source that will always be there, that always was, and He's reflected in everything that we do. Well, we can't escape Allah. He is the muhit as far as we're concerned. He encompasses us all. He knows everything, but we rely upon him. And what I really mean by that is, if I say, amantuka billah, I gave you amn, I secured you billah, relying upon Allah. What that means is, no matter what happens, I don't care. I'm going to keep on doing this to you because my source is Allah, and Allah never ever goes away. Allah never fades. But on the other hand, if I had said to you, amantuka bi qanun hadhihi al-madrasa, I secured you according to the law of this school, then what that means is, so long as the school does not change its laws or the rules, I'm going to keep on doing it. But the moment something happens to that source, you cannot rely upon me. And that is the difference. So Iman billah is the highest form, because you rely upon Allah. He is your source. He is your reference. You judge everything according to what's in yourself, in your fitrah, according to what the rules of the universe are. And we all know instinctively how we all are meant to do the right things. And this is what it really comes down to. You do the right thing. And then if you're doing the right thing, even when no one is watching you, you're doing this in al-ghaib. You're using sources of Iman that even if others can't see, well, that doesn't really stop you from doing the right thing. As I said, this was going to be a short video, and it is a short video. So what's going to happen next? The next video will be about Siyam, the Roza, the fasting. And the question is that fasting for us? As Muslims, are we meant to be fasting? And as part of that video, I like to cover who are the alladhina amanu in the Quran, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, and who are the mu'minun in the Quran. And is there a difference between the two terms, or are they just the same? Before I go, let's cover one last ayah. وَقُلْ لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Say, declare to those who do not secure, those who don't remove fear from others, اعملوا على مكانتكم. Do whatever you can. اعملوا, اعملوا, اعملوا. I keep repeating it because this is such an important point that we don't seem to know. This is a travesty. La yu'minun is not something that you do in your hearts. It's not something that you do in your minds. It's not something that you believe. It's not something that you utter with your tongues. It's an action, which is why those who do not do this, you are meant to say to them, اعملوا على مكانتكم. Do whatever you're doing in your position. Do everything you can do. اعملوا, عمل, do. إنا عاملون. We too are doing what we can. We are working. We are the ones who are spreading peace. You are not spreading peace. You're not doing the act of Iman. Once more, as we've always said throughout the series, Iman of the Quran has got nothing to do with saying stuff or storing it up in your memory banks. It's all about action. Until the next time, Assalamu alaikum.